Hey everyone, welcome back to my Dev Web App channel. Today I'll go through some popular JavaScript interview questions about the event loop. You'll see code examples that look simple at first but often confuse developers when they try to predict the output. If you are preparing for JavaScript interview or want to better understanding how asynchronous JavaScript really works, these examples are a must-know. So let's take a look at the first example. As you can see, I provided code snippet in JavaScript, and during interviews, they usually ask you to write the order of the execution of this code snippet in comments. And let's take a look what is really happening here. So, and good advice would be to analyze the code and try to understand where is the synchronous code that does not go through some asynchronous operations like set timeout or promise. Okay, and we can say that first line would be A because it's a synchronous operation. And now let's see. We have setTimeout, and it's a micro macrotask queue, and this function would go to the queue, and so it's an asynchronous operation. Let's go next. We see my promise, and here we are creating promise. Okay, and creation promise will be synchronous operation. And then we can press type C, but then we have resolve, and this resolve would be called when promise is called and inside them. So, but then D is a synchronous operation, and we can press D. Then we see promise called with them, and this would go to microtask queue. And then we have F, and this would be the next output. And now let's try to understand our queues. This promise queue would have higher priority than queue for timeout, and we will have E in console. Let me write it here. And the last one would be B. Okay, and we can try to run our code. Let me save it. And I would run it using Node, but inside browser, we would have the same output. And you can check if you want in browser. Okay, and let's check. We have A, C, D, F, E, and B. And our suggestions were correct. Now let's go next to the next example. Okay, and let me show you the whole example. And as you can see, we have similar code, but now we have a synchronous function fetch data that fetches some data from an actual API. And let's try to understand what we have here. And also we have console log A, and it's synchronous operation, and we'll go first. Now let's see. We have set timeout. This would go to macrotask queue. Then we have function fetch data, but let's see where it's called. And it's called below, but before this function, we have console log E, and that will be the next. Okay, and now we are calling fetch data, and we can write C. Let's see now. Next, we have a response and waiting for fetching. And everything below this await would go to microtask queue. But here would be some trick because while we are fetching the data, we don't have anything in queue. And this setTimeout microtask queue could run if fetch taking a long time. Okay, but let's see. We have D, and this would wait. And now next synchronous operation is F. And we can try and type F. And this would interesting moment because as I said previously, it would take some time, and we can go with B. And the last one would be D. Even that microtask queue have priority over macrotask, but this microtask queue would be empty when we send the request, and only when we receive the request we can run the queue. Okay, let me save this and run code with not question to JavaScript. Okay, and as you can see, we're waiting a response, and only then we would have D here. And let's check what we have. And as you can see, we have A, E, C, F, B, and for some reason we are waiting, but probably something is blocking response. Okay, and now only now we have D. And we can press await here, and that would change our output significantly. We can provide console log data, and now we would have F as asynchronous, and it would be the last one. Let me run this code and see what we have. And as you can see, now we have A, E, C, B, and now we are waiting for response. And only then we would have this data in console log, and then D and F. But I don't know why it's taking so long to get this response. Okay, now we can see data from an API, and only then D and F. And that's all that I have for today. If you like the video, subscribe to my Dev Web App channel. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.